I think we're gonna do this more and more and more. So this is the inaugural group office meeting between our offices, so we're really excited that you're here. For those of you who don't know, I'm Katie, I'm the manager of Smithtown. And we have Frank.
East
Yes.
Dorcas.
And Josh.
Hi, I'm manager for Babylon. How are you?
So thank you for coming. I'm not gonna talk for very long. I just wanted to point out, part of the reason that when Joshua mentioned this, the topic excited me is last fall, we had a CFP come into the office and talk about how to manage your business like a business and talk about financial wellness. And I think it was the best attended meeting that we've ever had in this office. And so I was really excited about this because he wanted to talk about your financial life and your financial wellness and not just buy and sell houses, but what do you do with that and how do you build that generational wealth that was in the flyer. Then yesterday, I don't know how many that you got this in your mailbox, the article in here, because they have articles geared for agents, they have articles geared for managers. The article geared for brokers and managers was called Giving the Gift of Financial Wellness. And it talked all about our responsibility to give the gift of financial wellness to our agents. So that's part of what we're doing today. And we wanna make sure that, you know, when you do get that commission check, what do you do with it? So we wanna talk about those types of things, and thank you for all of your expertise.
Oh,
I'm
you're welcome,
excited
you're
to hear
welcome.
about this.
Thank you.
You had another announcement?
Yes, just a few things. I want to thank everybody for coming here today. It's great. Hopefully you use it as a networking. This is bringing our region together, which is great. I love it. You guys all working together. So if you guys are either looking for something, this is what it's all about, gang. So, you know, we got to work together as a team. And I'm glad that, Josh, you set this up for us. I'm having one on May 10th. All right, it's you'll get CE credits if you guys. I'll send you guys out a flyer on Monday. All right, so if you guys are interested, we do it once a month. I started inviting the other offices, and we've had a great turnout. It'll probably be in either a restaurant or a diner. All right, so if you guys want to get some CE credits for your continuing education, I'll send out the flyer. You'll give me how many people are coming, and then this way we can have the arrangements. But other than that, I know it's going to be a pretty long meeting today, so I'm not going to speak.
Yeah, it's like 2-3 hours. So I hope you block that out, right? Brevity is not my strong suit, as all the Babylon agents will attest to. So super quick introduction. I'm Josh Wally, Associate Broker, Branch Manager of Babylon. I'm also the co-founder of the Grid 495 group, which is an investor networking group here in Long Island. I have my Grid partner, Sean Morrison here.
How you doing? Thanks
Yeah,
everyone for coming.
It's not Paul Newman. His name is Sean. He looks a lot like Paul Newman. He does, right? He's a handsome guy. God dang it. So, great guy. So, Grid gave a couple special things and why we hooked it up. One, I've known Sean, I think the first time he beat me up, I was 9. Right? So we've known each other a long time. I still haven't gotten over it. Clearly, I'm still bitter about it. But Grid we're a nationwide network of investors. I think we have 25 chapters. The goal is to be worldwide and create 100,000 millionaires across the globe. And the best way to do that is through real estate, right? So real estate is the greatest vehicle of building wealth in the world, right? Bar none, can't argue with that. And so when I've met, I'm gonna share a little vulnerably. This video is just staying on my phone until I play it back, so I'll share openly. How many folks have been in the business pre-COVID up until now, right? A lot of us, right? That was a scary time, right? That was nuts, right? Like at first, they were like locked everything down. I'm like, do I have enough ammunition, right? Do I have cash? Do I have ammunition? Where are the zombies, right? It was a really kind of crazy time. And I'll be honest, I was a little scared, right? And we didn't really know that real estate got shut down, the world got shut down, and I had this kind of moment of fear, and I said, did I set my family up correctly? How was my life set up? And it really, in that moment, I had a 3-year-old, and my wife was pregnant at the time. And I had an epiphany. I had not set my life up correctly. I had not. I was like, if this machine doesn't keep pumping, I'm in trouble, right? And it just so happened I kind of called my sister who lives in Virginia, and I was like, Allison, I'm really scared. Like, I'm terrified right now. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I got 2 kids. wife depending on me, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And she goes, I came across this guy, his name is Rob, and I think you should dig into him a little bit. And that was Rob Chavez, who's the founder of Grid. And I started like checking him out, reached out to him. He gave me like 2 hours of his time in COVID over Zoom. And he introduced me to this kind of concept, was the 7 levels of agent wealth. And he goes, he's a very successful realtor. He's got 6 teams that all do $1 million a piece. And he takes all of his team members through this journey, right? And it is how he builds wealth using your agent business as the foundation of it. So I would say, how many people here own an investment property? A handful, right? Small percentage, right? Smart cookies. How many people here have a financial advisor? Really small, right? Okay. How many people here have used a realtor outside for your own personal use? Almost every single one of us, right? So it's reasonable to say that we come in contact with agents more than we come in contact with people who are investors or financial advisors. So that what that means is that we're going to be the closest thing to a financial advisor for most of our clients. So we kind of have a duty and an obligation to support them in their financial future and be consultative, right? And that is part of what this education is about. Next slide. So, right, so also I'm going to back up. This is beta tested. This is the first time this is really getting taught. This was created last night at 11 o'clock. So I got no read ahead. So I'm just going to wing it. All right. So who is this really class for? You, right there in the back. We were chatting, Tony Clemente. This is speaking to what you're out to achieve here. So for most of us agents, we don't get off what we call the transaction treadmill, right? Which is active income, which means I list a property, I sell it, I get paid. And we do that for 50,000 years, and then what happens to most of us? 65% of us will fade away. We will fade away. We just slow down our marketing, we stop going on listing presentations, and we just fade away, right? Only a small percentage of those will create a business either through the real estate that they own or creating the machine of their agent business that they can then hand off to another agent and make money, a retirement plan out of that. Very, very few. So this coursework is really, this is not a blueprint for you to create wealth. What this really is designed to do is open you up to another, I would say, segment of real estate and have you become what we call an awakened agent. So when I sat there in the middle of COVID and I'm listening to Rob Chavez and he's teaching me to go through all this stuff, he goes, hey man, I'm gonna take you from broke AF through retirement. If you follow me, I'm gonna get you to the promised land. I was like, I love you. You're my huckleberry. I'm gonna lockstep with you. So he said, I'm gonna teach it to you, but you gotta make me a promise. The promise is you're gonna share this with as many agents as you possibly can across the globe. And there is no financial benefit for him. He just did it because he wants to make the world a better place. So that's who this is for. It's for people who want to get off the transaction treadmill, build wealth, and then give back to their community and make a difference. Next slide. Right? Brian Jatter rocked my world a couple of years ago. He sends it straight, right? Everybody knows Brian Jatter from Central Suffolk office. He's my supervisor, regional manager. He goes, you know what I do with my top producers on January 1st? I send them a text message with a 0. I was like, what? He goes, congratulations on a great year. You're starting from nothing. I'm like, whoa, rocks your world, right? That happens to us, right? You're agent of the month 1 month, and the next month you're dry, right? Like we all go through this roller coaster. I know I experience it myself. I watch the numbers go back and forth. Real estate is rough, man. Like you have to go out for the kill, right? Find a property, find a buyer, get it across the finish line, deal with emotions, right? Why do we do this? We must be nuts, right? We must be nuts. Next slide. So I'm going to ask a couple questions. I say this to my Babylon agents a lot. So if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, I go, what would you, people ask me for advice. I go, Josh got hit by a bus. What would you do, right? To get them to think through. You're screwed, right? Yeah. You're like, I don't know. So that was a big deal, right? In COVID, I'm talking to Rob Chavez. He goes, what if you got hit by a bus? I go, my family is effed. They're in trouble. right? I'm like, that's why I went and got life insurance and realized that I was fat. The lady was like, you're fat. And I was like, oh my God, right? Changed my whole thing. But anyway, so have you recession-proof your business? How many, so we know the market's been changing left and right since COVID, right? It's hot, it's cold, hot, it's up, down, right? So how many of you are looking forward to a market change? Yes, right? This market is not fun. I'm looking forward to it, right? But I used to fear a market change because I hadn't set myself up and I didn't have the skill set to take people through that very different journey, right? Again, Brian Jetta scared the hell out of me. He goes, Josh, it's coming. You weren't in the business in 2008 where people were putting a deal together and then prices were dropping by the time they were closing and buyers were renegotiating their contract midstream. That's intense, right? On the other side of that is opportunity. For all of us, Greater and for Douglas Elliman, I hope that the market doesn't return to that. But I'm open to a little bit of a check in the market, right? I'm open to a little bit of uncertainty, right? Because that's when one, Elliman shines, right? And two, the agent that has the greatest skill set, that's when they really need us, right? 2021 market, I said it, I'll say it again. Any monkey could sell a house. Here's beautiful photos. I do a floor plan, right? Here's the kitchen, here's the bath. What do you think? You're like, kill myself. Like, so what, right? Now we're talking about the market's getting tough. I mean, this morning, Chrissy and she's got a 5% buyer. She's like, how do I get them across the finish line? I'm like, you better think outside the box. You better find some sexy stuff for that seller, right? But you gotta have that skill set, right? Because you can't just throw 5%, $10,000 over ask. So does everybody else, right? So inside this coursework is an education to help you recession-proof your business. One thing, I think, the great part about real estate is that you can create anything. Hey, Al, how are you? You can create anything, right? The difficult part about real estate is that there's a million different ways to do it. There's a whole segment, there's a whole sub-industry that is designed to take our money, sell us an easy route, right? The quick fix, right? For $29.95 a lead, you can avoid a difficult conversation. It's not true, right? All roads lead to a conversation. But what a lot of us do is there's anxiety built up in our industry, right? So we run to this shiny penny, we go, oh, I'll do Zillow and that'll solve my problem, right? No, Zillow's the worst, Realtor.com, or Zip Leads, or whatever, junk, right? It's all junk designed to take our money and distract us. So we have to really define, what are we building, right? Remember the first statistic that I said, 65% of realtors fade away. They fade away because they don't know what they're building, right? We got to build a machine. Big thing is, why are you selling houses? People ask me. I got a text message the other day, very wild listing presentation. And after I left, it was a complex little piece that we'll go through it. But they said, Josh, thank you so much. We feel so good that we're in the right hands. Thank you for your time. I said, I'm happy to be there. This is my life's work. I've dedicated my entire life to helping as many families buy, sell, real estate, and build wealth for their family. They were like, wow, that's incredible. I'm like, yeah, tell everybody. It's great. Tell everybody. Right? So why am I selling houses? Because that's like my life's purpose. What am I working towards? I am working towards one thing we call is the income flip. Right? I'm looking for freedom. Right? That's my piece. So inside freedom, we say money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure makes life a hell of a lot better. Right? And when you get outside, when you get to a certain state, right? When I worked from the point when I met Rob, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to keep this all together, to freeing myself up financially. Now my brain is free to think even bigger. I had a conversation with my wife the other night, which is rare. We were like two ships in a night, right? And I said, Alicia, let's think back to 2020. We were thinking in hundreds. Then we did a couple deals, we started thinking in thousands. Now I'm talking in 10,000s. And I said, I know I work a lot. It's insane. My son goes, Papa, why you work all the time? I go, because I'm building something, buddy. I'm building your future. He's 6, he doesn't understand yet, but I want to bang it into his head. Now we're starting to talk in 100,000s. And the deals, the beautiful part, is the deal structure pretty much stays the same. You just add more zeros. It's wild, right? That's the beauty of real estate. One big thing, do you have a plan that you can easily define. Do I have any Tom Ferry coaching agents in here? Yeah, right? What like for me, I have a coach. My office gets that option to dig into the Tom Ferry network as well. The biggest thing that made a difference for me was the business plan. I go, okay, and it breaks it down into those actions that you need to take on a daily basis. Not all of us are like Al, who has the self-discipline to go 20 more dials, right? You know your number. Dials, conversations, appointments, closing, knows the numbers, right? Not all of us have that. That's a skill set. It takes a really long time. I have a lot of respect for that. He gave me Tom Ferry, and my coach gave me a plan. All right, so this is a little bit of a plan, and we'll talk through each one of those layers. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about what can I do to solve the fundamental problem of starting at the goose egg every single month, fortify my family and my business, to protect those I love, serve my friends, family members, and colleagues in a more meaningful way, line up my dominoes so that my focus, energy, and time all flow in the direction of my goals, and minimize my workload and maximize my income. That sounds great. I want to make a lot of money in a little bit of time. All right. Tony and I, we talked about it super quick, and I'm going to be very direct. I just got introduced to this option, to this theory, which is called Blue Ocean Theory. One thing I love about Grid is it introduced me to a lot of these books over here. You can see the educational journey I've been on for the last 3 years. I don't hide anything. Take pictures, all of it. Thriftbook.com, you're welcome. It's cheap books. It's like some of these are $2 a piece, right? But they pay me back in dividends. Pick that up. You got to pick that up. So the Blue Ocean strategy talks about operating in a different ocean, right? So agree or disagree, real estate's really crowded. Everybody knows a realtor, right? Everybody knows, I think, 7, but we only have the mindset to remember 5. So if you're the bottom 2, you're screwed, right? So we all fight to be the top 5, unless we can differentiate ourselves, right? So I enjoy going on a listing appointment. I go, who else did you talk to? What was attractive about what they talked about? What was unattractive, right? And I go, what are your concerns? Like my whole listing presentation is 5 questions. I do the same thing. I never, Mr. Elliman is gonna roll over in his grave. I rarely take out all those beautiful collateral that I have. I bring it all. I do a big thing. I drop it on the table. I go, I'm prepared. And then I go, let me dig into your life. What are your concerns? What do you want to achieve? And I come up with this great plan to get them there and deliver value. I'm operating differently, right? Because I am, I'll toot my own horn. I am the first, what we call it, Grid. You got to pick it up. Grid. There's a coursework we're going to go into. It's the Grid Agent Investor Certification. And Rob called on me. He was like, hey, buddy, remember when I helped you, like, you were going to hang yourself in your bathroom and I talked you off the ledge? I'm like, I do. He goes, okay, I'm cashing in that favor. I'm like, what? He goes, you got to take this coursework. It's called the Grid Agent Investor. This is the beta group. You're going to be part of the beta group. Will you go on this journey with me? I was like, all right, man, I'll do whatever you say as long as it's not illegal. I was like, let's go. And I went on that journey with him, and I became the first agent investor certified realtor in the world, right? I was the first one who finished that coursework. And I remember coming back to my office like, you guys have no idea what I just learned. You have no idea what I just learned. I was going on the journey of being awakened, and now I operate in the blue ocean because I know I have a skill set that's different than any other realtor, right? Any monkey can put a property on the market. Any monkey can take great pictures. When I do a floor plan, I'm like, so what? Okay, great. That's fantastic. Did any realtor that came in here, did they talk about how to build wealth for your family? And they're like, no, what the hell are you talking about? Let's go on that journey. I'm gonna figure it out for you, right? Real estate's the best way to make wealth. Next slide, please. This is the agent investor ecosystem. So really, up to this point, we talk about this, right? Which is like your agent business. So listings, buyers, conversion, right? Closing, the treadmill, right? We all run on that treadmill every day, and it's fun. Like you're not in this room if you're not a hunter. I know Joanne and I talk about all the time. We cheer each other. I love that woman. She cheers me on. I go, Joanne, I just got a listing. 5%, 3 in, 2 out. She's like, wow, congratulations. We love the kill, right? right? We love the kill. But there's another side to it, which is the investor side. And as agents, we have a front row seat to bring those two together and really make a difference in the world, in your customer's life, in your family's life. Next slide. So on this journey, if you choose to take the pathway of the awakened agent, your transformation is going to happen, right? So in order to truly add value to your clients, you need to go on a wealth building journey. So I go on this journey, and people ask me all the time, they go like, how many houses do you own? I go, one, my own. And they're like, what? But you know all this stuff. I go, I'm on the journey with you. I'm grinding it out, right? Like, I'm in it. I go, my partner owns multiple properties. We're doing joint venture properties right now. Like, putting some stuff together. I go, look, I'm on the journey. I'm coaching you along with it. I'm going with you too. I don't know everything, but I have a great network of people who do. So if we don't know something, we'll find the answer for it. Once we go on this journey, I think it's going to change the way that you see real estate and open your mind up that there is an infinite world of real estate out there, that residential real estate is only one little tiny piece of the pie. So we have a duty and an obligation, in my opinion. We have a duty and an obligation. So we already asked that question from who has a financial advisor, very, very small. So through your knowledge and your network, you can take people on a wealth building journey. And you know what that does when you transform somebody's life like that? That creates referrals, right? When you see people that have been in the business and they're like, I don't know where it comes from, their phone just rings. It's because they've been out there making a difference for people's lives on a consistent basis for a long enough period of time. Next slide. So let's start with the big picture. Boom, there it is. You're welcome. All right, that's it. $69.95. Pay right there. So this is the 7 levels of agent wealth. And this is the journey that I'm on, right? So I'm out there to create impact. I would say my goal, son of a bee, my goal is to be the top realtor in my hometown, create as many millionaires as I possibly can. And you'd be surprised, I'm changing my friends' lives over and over and over again. They come to, like, I knew I was doing something different when they came to me and they go, like, what's my house worth? And then what can I do with that equity? I was like, oh man. They go, I listen to what you say. I'm like, what? I say a lot. I'm really happy. Thank you so much. So your 7 levels of agent wealth. First one, mindset, energy, and identity. 2, sales and marketing. 3, business ownership. 4, investments. 5, leadership. 6, expansion. 7, impact. I'm gonna give you a harsh reality. Anybody know what the failure rate is in the industry? It's 86%. Won't make it to year 2. 86% never make it out of level 1. Because this business is hard and it is stressful and it is not, and people will break your heart, right? You can be high one day, low the next, right? It's insane. Like, I have a background in HR, and some days I go, no one's gonna curse me out in HR. Like, I'm like, do I go back there? I go, no, you hated it, right? Because you gotta have DNA for that, right? So most agents will never get out of here. If you notice my stack of books, the biggest stack is all mindset, energy, and identity. You gotta pick it up. All right, it's all right. I love Sean deeply as a friend, and he's made a huge difference in my life. And I laugh, I go, Sean, you said something that made a difference. He goes, I don't know, I say a lot, right? One thing that really changed, and I could feel my brain change, is we were just kind of talking shit. I don't know what else to say. And he said, Josh, you get out of life what you believe you deserve. I was like, oh, I just sat there. I was like, okay, so like, what's the difference between me, a mega agent, a celebrity? I'm like, shoot, Justin Bieber was like a YouTube kid, right? But he just believed, he was like, I'm good. And he just believed it, right? So mindset is the foundation, and this is the hardest one. It is the hardest one, is maintaining Brian Jatta. The most valuable piece of real estate is the 6 inches in between your ears. And he's right? Because if you can manage your mindset right, then you can go up here. If you can't manage your mindset right? If you don't believe you can do it, or you don't believe you deserve it, go back to HR. It's not for you, right? You have to believe it. And you got to work at it every single day. You'll see 2 binders on the side because I'm an open book. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get super vulnerable with this group. If you want to look through it, there's 2 binders there. A couple things I do every single morning. One is I write a handwritten note of gratitude. I thank somebody in my life. I was like, I read a book. It's called 365 Thank Yous. I was like, I'm going to take this on as a project for a year. I just went through all the people that have made an impact in my life, and I thanked them one at a time. Gratitude is the biggest thing, man. Gratitude will open everything. And the other one is my Ninja Selling Daily Affirmations. Every morning, every freaking morning, I write 25 times. I enjoy earning $30,000 a month and recruiting 1 agent a month. I write that 25 times. I'm like banging it into my head, right? You know how many days it takes to create a new habit?
21.
66. So I promised myself I would write those affirmations 66 times. If you look at the newest one, I had to throw stuff out because the binder is really small. I'm up to 176 of 66. I write it at the bottom. I track it, right? It wasn't until last month that all came to fruition. I was making $30,000 a month and recruiting 1 agent. I was like, well, God damn, it works, right? If you believe it, you can achieve it, right? Next level, sales and marketing. That's the big deal, right? This is where most people spend their entire career fluttering between level 1 and 2. And let me tell you, that's why we burn out. It's exhausting as hell, right? Like every day you got to work to convince yourself, like, this is what I really want to do. No, I really love it. HR sounds pretty good, right? I got weekends off and 2 weeks, right? You got to master this and move up the levels in order to stay in this business for a long time. My goal here is what we call the income flip. And the income flip is where I've accumulated enough cash flowing assets that will pay my monthly bills. So I had to go back, find out what's my number. I fought it for like a year. I did it last week because I knew I was gonna have to confess to you guys whether I did it or not. But I put my whole household into QuickBooks. Shoot, last year I sent my wife to QuickBooks school. She has a certification. I'm like, there's no excuse that we don't have it. We put our household into QuickBooks. We run our household like a business so I can structure my business to support my household. It's insane. You gotta know that. I gotta know what my monthly nut is so I can acquire enough properties to pay my bills every single month. Then I'm free to do the deals with a lot of zeros at the end, right? That's the goal. That's freedom. Next slide, please. So, man, I'm gonna break your heart now. There's no easy part. Every time you go up the ladder, when you're going up another rung, your identity is gonna come up and tell you you can't do it. It's gonna say you're a failure, you don't deserve it. It's stressful as hell, right? Your body's gonna fight you every single way. But you have to have the mental fortitude, right? You have to have that foundation to believe that you can and stay committed to your goals. There's a book there called Grit. I love that. Anybody read Grit? You gotta, right? There's even a scale on there where you can give yourself a grade on how gritty you are. I sucked. So I was terrible. I did it for the whole group I shared. I failed miserably. I was like a D-. But grit is your ability to stay committed and focused to a goal over a long term. That's how people make a difference in the world. That's how they get to the 1%. That's how Justin Bieber became Justin Bieber. He just believed he was really good and he kept doing it for a really long time. So, next
I'm gonna
slide.
add on to that. So what he was saying there is, you almost need someone else to support your mental ideas with that. That journey of keeping your mindset in the right spot is lonely. You need someone else on that journey with you that you talk to daily or a couple times a week that's supporting you, and you're supporting them to go there. Because you'll get stuck, you'll get unfocused, and you won't believe you can do it. We talk to each other probably 2 to 3 times a day about how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and motivating each other to do it. And without him in my life, I couldn't do what I'm doing. So it's important to have other people you're sharing that with.
Yep. People tell you, like, don't do that. That's dumb.
Yeah,
That's
don't
valuable.
talk to them.
He does it a lot. He's
Yeah,
like, "Don't
anyone
do that,
that's telling
dumb."
you, that's great. Find someone that supports that journey,
Yeah.
and it will only be positive with you. If you have some negative people that are just like, that's too much. What are you talking? Those numbers are too big. Don't talk to them about it. And then you'll even find certain conversations about building your wealth You can't have them with certain people. They don't like it. They don't like people doing better for themselves. You need to find people that are on that journey, have done it, will give you good insight on how to grow your personal wealth. And you'll find, like, you start talking personal wealth with certain people and they just don't like you for having that conversation. So be careful.
Next slide. Big one. Learn how to shift your mindset, increase your energy, and affirm your identity. I do that every single morning. Anybody know the rule of 100? Okay, the rule of 100 states that if you do anything in a year for 100 hours, which equates to 18 minutes a day, if you did that consistently for a year, you will be better at whatever that is than 95% of the world. I don't want to, like, you can find 20 minutes. You can find 20 minutes in your day. So every morning, part of my morning routine, I do my affirmation, I write my letter, I plan my day in my book, right? Figure out who I'm going to try to connect with, and then I read for 20 minutes. All of those books, it's 20 minutes a day. I chip away at it 20 minutes a day. You can find that, right? I have a lot of sayings. One is, you win the morning, you win the day. You lose the morning, you lose the day, right? I know if I'm not digging into my book and planning my day, I'm just off doing whatever distracts me. And there is so much in the world that's out there to distract you. Some they're out there to distract you and take your money while they're doing it. Next one. Limiting belief, right? Everybody have that conversation running in their head, right? Here was a good change for you. I heard from my life coach, said, if you took the voice in your head and they became another friend, would you be friends with that person? And I was like, no way, right? They go, well, if you wouldn't be friends with that person, why would you treat yourself that way? I was like, wow, right? Because we tell ourselves negative stuff, right? Like, great, like, I'm bald, I'm fat, I'm short, I'm this, I'm that, right? Dumb. I'm poor, I don't have as much money as them, whatever that is, right? Once I erase that, please, next one, boom. You didn't know how to ride a bike at first, right? You fell off. My son's doing that right now. It's brutal, right? It's total fear. I know right on the other side of that is freedom, right? Your bicycle was your first taste of freedom you had in your life, right? It's right there. So treat every new thing like a bicycle. How do you master level 1? You create a vision of what you want. Biggest thing is write it down. I love Sean is great at goal setting. I hate goals. I hated them. he's like, we'll come by, we'll write our goals out, we'll put it together. I'm like, yeah, I got this thing I gotta do. Like, I avoided that like the plague. I was like, oh yeah, well, what about, like, I was trying to get him around it. You gotta write it down. The first step is just write it down, right? That is like, you have, it was some crazy percentage, like a 300% greater chance of reaching a goal if you just write it down. That's it, man. So right now, go in your sweet ass grid book, write it down. Write down a goal. You got 300% chance of getting it. Exercise your brain. Cleanse and exercise your brain for 15 minutes a day. You are an athlete. Realtor, there's no difference between a top performing realtor and a top performing athlete. And like, our muscle is our mind. So you gotta cleanse out the news, the economy, delete the stupid stock market app off your phone. I don't even have any stocks. I check that thing like 30 times a day. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What am I looking for? I don't even know. Right? I don't even understand how this works. What does it matter? But you have to exercise your brain and really pay attention to what's coming in. I am like allergic to negative conversations. I'm like, bro, I love you. Like, I have some friends, like Sean said that, whew, I love him. I was complaining about my wife. Anybody ever complain about their wife? Yeah, I did it once. But anyway, because I called Sean and I'm like, can you believe it? And he was like, bro, stop. I don't want to hear it. That's your wife. Fix that and you fix everything else in your life. Like, stop. Okay, stop complaining. Okay, move on. I was like, whoa, great advice, right? I was like, wow, like, if you surround yourself with other people who get into that, they'll spool you up, right? Like the office gossiper, right? Oh, or be careful. Anybody goes like, I hate drama. I'm like, you love it. You're lying, right? Stay away from them. Right, next one. Level 2, turn your agent business into a cash machine. Next slide. I can't create predictable income. It's not true. The path is in the math. The path is Chrissy Bogue, son of a bee, right? I talk to these two more than I talk to my family. It's insane. All the time. Chrissy, what do you hate the most in life? Yeah, right. When do I go? Flunked it, right? Me too, right? If I see like a letter in there, I'm like, that's not right. You made a mistake. There's a letter in that math problem. The money's in the math. I'm sorry. Get good at it. The money's in the math. Okay, next slide. Here's some, write this down. Take a picture of this. This breaks you free. Okay, it will take 25 conversations to get to an appointment. Al knows these, right? 25 conversations to an appointment. For every 3 appointments, you'll close 1 deal. You come out of that listing presentation, you go, I didn't get that. Great, you're only 2 away from a deal. No, you're welcome, right? You gotta like, I'm almost like people like, well, I don't know if we should list. I'm like, sweet, don't waste my time, right? Like, I'm on my way to get to 2 more points. When you know your numbers, you gotta know the numbers, then you can work backwards. I put my agents to sleep, my team to sleep a couple months ago. It didn't land the way I really wanted it to, and I introduced this concept I call the pathway to 250. Right? Remember that, guys? You're like, Emily or Sue did the numbers for me, right? I said, hey guys, you want to learn how to make 250 grand a year? Does that sound exciting? Everybody's like, yeah, we'll do that. Talk to 4 new people a day. That's all you need to know. Trust the math. Talk to and gather the information of 4 new people a day. I was like, it didn't rock my brain. I was talking to a brand new agent the other day, yesterday. God bless. From Colway, he's been in the business like 6 months. Works at a restaurant. He's in maitre d'. I go. He's like, yeah, I live in. He's coming to you, Manel. He's in Sayville. He goes, I live in Sayville. I grew up in Sayville. I work at a restaurant in Sayville. He goes, I meet people all the time. I tell them I'm in real estate. And I go, hey, you want to hear a secret? He's like, yeah, man. I go, you want to learn how to make $250,000 a year? Yes, I do. I go, collect the contact information for 4 people a day. Make it your job to collect the information of 4 people a day. Bona fide contact, first name, last name, telephone number, email address, property address. That's a bona fide contact. If you do that 4 times a day, voraciously, you will make $250,000 a year because it's just math. It's just math. Next slide. How do I master level 2? Level 2, I don't know what you thought you were getting into. You're like, oh, it's all real estate. I love to show houses. You're not showing a GD thing until you work out how to market. You're a marketer, right? You're a salesperson, you're a marketer. Sean's main business is a painting company. He owns the largest painting company in the Hamptons. It's huge, right? We share a lot, right? And we both kind of had our journey through the recession, right? And one thing that made me win a lot of respect for Sean was he had his epiphanic moment. He had an epiphany. And he was like, gonna change direction. He goes, nah, I'm gonna do this painting thing. And I just got in my car one day and I went to the Hamptons and I knocked on as many builders' doors as I could in a day. And I booked $100,000 worth of business for my family in a day. Does that sound a lot like what we do, right? We just knock on a door for a different purpose, right? And I was like, he's in sales and marketing, whether he knows it or not, right? He was in sales. Not a very good marketer at the time, but a really good salesperson. Hey, I'm here. My name's Sean. I'm a really good painter. I got a whole bunch of guys who want to paint. You got anything I can paint? And he did that over and over and over again. And he's very well off for it. So how do we create predictable income? Is we create content that starts a conversation, then we make a connection, then we convert those mofos, right? So content, right? Content can be anything. So I am not what we call the dancing Instagram bear, like the voiceover reels and all that stuff. I tried it, I suck at it, I'm terrible. I can't get the timing right. What I am good at is taking people on a journey. And I realized, so we're gonna talk really quickly later. I lie, talking to me is never quick. We're gonna talk later for a really long time about what we call the zone approach to real estate, right? And so the Z in the zone is zero in your target market. So Rob said, Josh, do you have a farm? I'm like, no. He goes, start that today, because it's not gonna get profitable for like 15 to 18 months. Start that today. Where are you most known? I'm like, I grew up in Rolling Woods. He's like, great. were you a good kid? I'm like, that was terrible. He goes, do any of those people still live there? I go, yeah, but they're old, they'll probably forget. He goes, great, start there. So right away, I started there. I wrote a letter. Hi, I'm Josh from Douglas Elm Rosa. And I found a picture from 1985 of my mom in terrible 80s overalls and me in a smaller set of terrible 80s overalls walking down the beach steps to the HOA beach that's part of our neighborhood. I wrote this letter saying, hey, I'm Josh. I'm your Riverhead realtor, even though my address says 124 West Main Street, Babylon. Just ignore that. And I inset a picture of my mom and me walking down the steps. And I said, I'm your Rolling Woods realtor. I grew up here, I love it here, and I want to make a difference for you. Bang! I had a teacher. She got the letter. She goes, man, this guy can write. She goes, we're not selling, but they folded it up and stuck it in the drawer. 2 months later, she gets pregnant. She's a teacher. She didn't like the school district she's in. They want to move. She calls. She goes, I knew I saved your letter for a reason, right? Oh my goodness. I created content. Yeah. Then she called me. We had a conversation. Then you got to answer it. Then I made a connection and I converted them. That was the Zilnicki's, God bless them. They were the first one I did in my neighborhood. 65% of my business comes from my neighborhood. I own that. I'm the Rolling Woods guy, right? That's what they call me. Oh, you're Josh, the Rolling Woods guy. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Next slide. Take a listing, host an open house or a seminar. We create content that starts a conversation, that leads to connection, that leads to conversion. You gotta do that 4 times a day. So you can start that conversation a couple different ways. You can pay Zillow $395 to start a conversation. Let me invite you into something. That's dumb. Don't do that unless you have a team and it makes sense in that team. If you're a solo agent, don't do that, right? Just send me the check for $250. I'll cut you. I'll save you some money. But everything that we do, right, was about starting a conversation, and that was the cool part about Grid. That's why I started Grid, was to attract people to me, to start a conversation, just like all of you. And I'll share with you why I'm different, and I operate in the blue ocean. And I hope that one day you remember me and you go, I got a seller who's in a little bit of a tight spot. Josh talked about this weird way I can make a difference for them. I'm gonna give him a call and he's gonna help me put this thing together. And we're gonna make a difference for this person. And then they're gonna give me a bunch of money to do it. Sounds great, right? Just gotta do it at scale. All right, next one. So we use Grid, obviously, as a lead content platform, but you can follow this content model, and you're gonna get the zone approach for anything. You have to just pick a particular spot, communicate with it consistently, and get those folks to call you. Anybody know, aside from my group, Babylon, don't talk about it. Anybody ever hear of Altos Research? Write it down, ALTOS, steal my idea. Altos Research. I found this years ago. It's free. It does a little market update for whatever zip code you want. It sends it to you every Monday. And it has this little speedometer on it. It tells you whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. And I was sending out postcards every month. I was creating this like heartfelt content. Guess what? Nobody cared. Then I was like, you know what one thing I look at every Monday? Altos Research. Because I want to know where the needle is. So this year, I turned it around. I said, that's the message I'm going to put out. I'm going to tell people a story about where the market is every single month. I will list my 4th property out of my farm from the stupid needle thing. Because they go, Josh, you know what you're talking about. Well, 1, you know what you're talking about. 2, you got to be a good enough agent because I see you marketing to me consistently forever. Woo-hoo, yeah, buddy, right? I love it. And then I'm talking about blue ocean stuff, right? I'll share with you. I just inked a listing. I sold my childhood neighbor's house. God bless Miss Kelly. Sold her house. She will call me, Josh, I'm not ready to sell forever. And finally she goes, Josh, I'm ready. I got your stupid postcard again. I'm like, yeah, let's go, Miss Kelly. And we sold it to this lovely family. Talked with Chrissy about it this morning. Sold it to this lovely family. They're getting relocated 20 months later. 20 months later, they're getting relocated to Tennessee. Love this conversation. 20 months later, they're gonna move. What concern do they have that they probably didn't know about? What is in there that they don't know about? 20 months. They're going to sell their house in 20 months.
Taxes.
Yeah. See, capital gains tax. I said, Mr. and Mrs. Tullio, do you realize that you have, if we close before August 18th, you have a capital gains implication? They go, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's a tax. The government wants money. You made money really fast. And they go, what is that? I go, it's 35% of the VIG. They were like, what? I'm like, that's a lot of money. They're about to make $100,000 in 2 years. But if they didn't know what they didn't know, and they went with a regular agent who goes, here's the kitchen, here's the bath, I did a nice floor plan, they're going to get wackadood next year with a $35,000 tax implication. They were like, we didn't even know. They go, what do you charge? I go, a lot. You're welcome. But it's worth it because I already have my value. I can do whatever I want. Turns out, I love this story. Their company is relocating them. The company will reimburse them up to 6% of the purchase price for the sale of their home. I had it pre-filled out for 5. They were like, but the company will pay 6. You should take 6. I was like, you're right. Change it right over it. It's a great deal, right? So, but that knowledge came out of Grid. If I didn't know the 1031 exchange, probably the harshest conversation we ever had, I care about you, I was like, you had somebody who's coming like, what's the minimum wait time? What's the capital gains exclusion? You're like, I don't know. I'm like, you better know it because it will rob people of their wealth. Go ahead. Woo! This is the hardest one. So for some of us, like Tony Clemente, Lucy Girardi, Joanne Betcher, Paul Calger, our award-winning agents year over year do pretty well here, right? But what if you got hit by a bus? Could the machine still operate without you, right? I know my household couldn't operate without me when the time came, when the apocalypse came, right? So number 3 is you got to learn how to build a business that works for you instead of you working for it. Because if you are the business, you don't have a business. You have a high-paying job, right? I love Rob Chevis. He did one thing. He goes, I'm going to stress test my business. Last summer, he stress tested his 6 different businesses. He goes, I rented a giant Winnebago thing. It looks like a bus. I'm putting my family in it, and I'm leaving my cell phone at home. I'm gone for a month. I'm stress testing the system. He goes, it's either going to survive without me or it's going to implode. He goes, whatever, I got to do it. And he just tuned out for a month. How many of us could tune out from our business for a month and have it still run? Probably none of us, right? Probably none of us. Go ahead. Limiting a belief. If it's going to be done right, it's going to be done by me. That's the kiss of death, man. Right? That's what keeps you owned. That's what keeps you having a job. Next. Truth. Building a team and delegating activities helps you leverage your time and efforts. You got to give it away. You got to give it away. You have to give it. You can't do it all, right? Brian Jagger, again, I quote him all the time. He's a smart guy. I steal stuff. He goes, don't do $10 an hour work when you're worth $100 an hour. Right? Because if you're inputting your listing, fail. It's not the highest and best use of your time. I'm not gonna lie. I almost inputted that one last night at like 11 o'clock, and I was like, nah. Sent it to the assistant, scanned it. I'm like, you put it in. It's the best thing in the world. $20. She'll do it. It's $20. What the hell am I buying my life back for $20? That's the deal, right? Again, I said Grid. You're going to learn a lot of books. Thriftbook.com. That's twice. The plug. I get a little kickback from it. But one thing is who, not how, right? I have a book in here called The Power of Who. It's a different, same premise, different author. You got to read this. You can't do it alone. That's what Sean said. It's like we talk about like wild stuff, and sometimes Sean like really intense, like bizarre concepts, and Sean goes, "Don't talk to anybody about this." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "They're gonna look at you like you're crazy. They're gonna look at you like we're trying to take over a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio with none of our own money, right? And if we do that, right? I'm gonna say not if." When we do that, because I speak to it that it's done, when we do that, we'll be millionaires. Guess what I don't have? Is a 529, a college fund for my kids. What will they have? One rental property. Do with it what you will, right? You want to refinance that cash out and pay for college? Go nuts. I don't really care. You take it over. So I can't get to those $1 million deals without somebody else, without my Sean. Find your Sean, all right? Inside that book, Who Not How, it's going to open you up to grabbing other people, learning from them, right? And injecting them into your business so that you can create an asset that will give you passive income. Next one. You got to think of your real estate business like a franchise, like you're building a hamburger, and systematize everything. I would say Carlos is probably feeling this right now because one of the challenges of having a team with multiple people is systematizing it, right? Why does McDonald's, anybody like ever, you're on a road trip and you're hungry as hell and you're on the highway and all of a sudden you see the golden arches come over the horizon, you're like, I'm hungry and I'm gonna hate myself in about 4 hours, but I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna get something from McDonald's. But you go there because you know what you're gonna get, good or bad, indifferent, right? You know you're gonna get a bellyache 3 hours later, right? But you'll get over the hunger. You have to give the highest level producing people give a consistent experience. The greatest leader I ever had when I was in the military, he was a god. I said, Sergeant Major Holiday, like, how do you get people to follow you? I was like, I hang on your every word. I'll follow you anywhere. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. He goes, I'm consistent. He goes, you don't admire me. I'm just a regular guy, right? I put my pants on, right? But I'm here every day at 4:01. And he was, because sometimes I'm a psycho. I'll be in my office at 3:30, typing away in HR, right? And there he walks by 4:01 every day. I'm like, this guy's a freaking machine. That's how we become godlike. That's how we deliver exceptional service, and that's how people refer us over and over again, is by delivering consistent results. That's also how we create freedom from our lives, because we have a machine, right? We get a new listing, it goes through the 12-step listing protocol, it goes under contract, it goes through the 15%, like, you start franchising and systematizing your business. Next one. Ooh, this is the fun part. Taking that cash flow, right? So if you manage your mindset, you go, I can do this. I put together my zone approach, my stuff. I got the phone ringing consistently. I'm ringing the bell and doing deals consistently. I'm paying my bills. All right, I put a little structure in place so I have a little bit more freedom. Then I take that cash flow from my business, and this is where it gets awesome, is you start buying assets that do a couple different things. Anybody know the 3 levers of real estate? You gotta know this. You gotta know this. This is the magic of real estate. Real estate appreciates. It goes up in value. There's also a tax advantage called depreciation for investment properties. You can't depreciate your primary residence. I tried. And the accountant said, no days. He's like, we can if you want to go to jail. I'm like, nah, I'm too good looking for jail. So it appreciates, it depreciates, and then you can leverage against it. I bought my house in 2021, thankfully, to Sean. And I was like, I'm scared. He's like, just buy the stupid house. And I did. And then he renovated. It was great. And then we built equity. And then last week I closed on a home equity line of credit. I'm like, okay, I pulled that equity back out. And guess what? Like, next week we're gonna close on an investment property. And I used all that money. I'm like, okay, right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal for my family. Like, I'm like, okay, it started, right? It started. So you gotta get all the way up here, get some investments coming in, get a little bit of positive cash flow coming back in, because every little piece that you can replace with positive cash flow is more freedom to do bigger deals. I need money to make money. When I have money, then I'll invest, right? Well, I'm not quite ready. Right? I'm not quite ready. I told my brother, I love my brother. I was like, Adam, when are you going to buy a house? He's like, when prices come down. That's dumb. I love you, but that's dumb. He goes, I don't have enough money. I'm like, if I find something that's like in my own portfolio and I can figure out how you can just kind of slide into that with like no money down, because I'll build in a concession or get somebody to hold a private note or something like that. I'm like, would you be interested? He goes, nah. It's so crazy, right? He's got a limiting belief, right? At another time or another person, that's because, right? Oh, that's because they've been doing it a long time. Or that's because their parents have money. You hear all that stuff? It's not. Next one. You don't need your own money. Like I just said, I slipped it in there. We're working on sliding into a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio with none of our own money. None of our own money, which is great, because I don't have that much right now. I'm very leveraged. I got money all over the place. So we're going to slide into that. We're going to take people who have money, plus banks that want to give us money, and we're going to buy this rental portfolio. And I'm going to make positive cash flow every month. I'm going to get a little of appreciation every month. And then every year, I'm going to depreciate. Who had a great year last year in real estate? Raise your hands. Okay, cool. It was a good year, right? Who also subsequently wrote a giant check to the government? Who was happy about that? You sure?
I didn't go to jail.
So I was talking to a brilliant attorney, and he asked me those same questions. He goes, Josh, did you have a good year? I'm like, I did, I had a good year. He goes, you made a lot of money? I'm like, for me, yes, I did. He goes, great, did you write a giant check to the government? I did, those MFers. And he goes, well, that's your penalty for not owning real estate. What are you talking about? He goes, the government is your partner. And they want you to buy as much real estate as you possibly can. And they give you this gift called depreciation. So I can take the depreciation from those assets and offset it against my realtor income. What's your tax bracket? You know what your tax bracket is? Sucks, right? 28, 20-something%, right? It's like, let's just say, if I showed you how you can buy a piece of real estate, you can make like $100 a month. It's not a ton of cash flow, but it increases at 4% annually, and then you get depreciation. I can save you 25 cents on the dollar from your 1099 income. Is that something you'd be interested in talking about? It's a different conversation, right, Lucy Girardi? You're like, oh shit, right? Like, oh, well. Right? This is the blue ocean stuff. How many people, you've been in the business a good bit, right? How many people have talked about stuff like this with you, had that serious conversation? Maybe a handful, right? Maybe you meet a couple people, you're like, that person's different, right? Next one. How do I master level 4? Ooh, read that book, Simple Path to Wealth. We'll send the slides out to everybody. But you gotta surround yourself with people that are doing it. I know you say it all the time. You are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. That's why I love Douglas Elliman Real Estate. At the time I was getting, no. So at the time I was getting recruited to Douglas Elliman, I was working for, anybody remember, it was a flash in the past called Purple Bricks. Anybody remember Purple Bricks, right? Scared the hell out of all of you for a little bit, didn't it? We were gonna take over the world, we were gonna paint it purple, right? Anyway, so I had an offer to be the state director for Purple Bricks, run the whole state. It's really impressive, like all 12 of us. I was gonna be in charge of all 12 of us, right? And then I got a recruiting call from Douglas Elliman. I met Ann Conroy. Love to tell that story. The first time I talked to her, I didn't know who she was. So I'm just chatting with her. I'm in the deli getting a bagel, talking to freaking Ann Conroy. And then she was like, I got it figured out long. She goes, come to my office tomorrow at 2. Can you make that work? I'm like, sure. I'm like, where's your office? She goes, I'll connect you back to the front desk. They'll give you direction. And they were like, oh, you're going to meet Ann Conroy, the CEO of Douglas Elliman? I was like, well, this should just happen. I was like, I guess so. Like, I got nervous, right? So we had those 2 offers, right? I'm gonna blow your mind. And I left the decision to my wife. But Purple Bricks was a lot of money, high risk, really exciting. And I was like, well, Douglas Elliman, I feel like I'll be like limited. My wife's like, just go to the meeting. I left that meeting with Ann Conroy. I'm like, I just met a genius. I literally just met a genius. And then I met Brian Jada. I met a bunch of the other management team. I'm like, these people are crazy smart. And I'm gonna take a huge pay cut, and I'm gonna put on this suit, and I'm gonna shut my mouth, I'm gonna learn. And I'm gonna be the poorest, dumbest person in the room for as long as I can. And the great part about Douglas Elliman is, like, as you elevate your game, you can be the dumbest person, the dumbest, poorest person in a really big room. Look at Howard Logberg. That guy's a billionaire, and he made it on his own. He didn't fall back. I'm cursing a lot on the video. He didn't fall into money. He earned his way there, right? Like, one of my goals is to get at the table with Howard Logberg. Right? Can you imagine what that level of conversation is all about, right? So, you gotta get back in with agents. That's the point of this, is to get us all back together. Because there's a lot of heavy hitters in this room. I mean, incredible people who have done incredible things that make a ton of flipping money. It may seem normal in this environment, but it's really not. It's spectacular. Who won an award this year? Raise your hand. That's incredible. All right. Winning an award at Douglas Elliman is hard as hell, right? The average agent it does like 6 deals, right? you're not winning an award doing 6 deals, right? Or say top 16%. This is a deep pool of people. So if you won an award, you're at the top of the top. It's really impressive, and you're in the right spot. So I hate to say it, leaders or readers, read the book and get to a great event. First Tuesday every month, Hotel Indigo in Riverhead. I know it seems like the end of the earth. It's fine. Once you get in the expressway, you're fine. So success happens through collaboration. Promise, right? Great part about real estate is you can create anything you want. You got to get a lot of smart people together in the room creating non-traditional stuff. That's where the gold is, right? I'm a binary thinker. Go ahead. Thank you. I'm gonna keep it together, Josh. Thank you. All right. Thank you. I'm a binary thinker. I want everything to be yes, no, 1 or 0, right? And my first boss said, he was a brilliant guy. He's a pain in the ass, but he's a brilliant guy. And he goes, stop. Real estate's all gray. And you're trying to lump everything into black or white. And you're driving yourself nuts. And you're closing yourself off to all the good stuff in the middle. Because you want to make a bunch of money? You want to make a difference for your life? You want to be the go-to in your family? You want to change the financial direction of your family? Get in the gray. I was like, oh, change my brain. I felt my brain just move. It's a real, when you learn, your brain wrinkles. I felt the wrinkle. I was like, oh shit, like, this guy's in my mind right now. But I realized, okay, it's all in the gray, and the relationships. I want to deal with people that are living in the gray. Next one. Okay, here's a wild example. I won't get too deep into it, but this is some of the stuff that this is Rob's deal. So, anybody ever heard of subject to purchases? Anybody hear that? Aside from Babylon. Cheater, right? So subject to, wild, right? Agree or disagree that when you transfer a property, that mortgage needs to be paid off when you transfer the property?
Disagree.
You're right. You're right. It doesn't, right? You know, there's one of our very wealthy friends, Brendan Byrne, he did a gut check. I came to him to ask him, I was like, Brendan, I need $3 million for a project in Brooklyn. He goes, do you know what the difference between a promissory note and a mortgage is? I'm like, I just tried to like make it up along the way. He's like, no, you don't, right? There's 2 parts to a mortgage, right? There's the mortgage, which gets actually the recording of the interest against a property. Then there's a promissory note. And the promissory note is the agreement made between the parties, and the mortgage is the recording of the bank's interest on that real asset, right? So, yes or no, you can do a deed transfer. So who's my people that own rental properties? Raise your hand. Okay. Did anybody, not that you did, just don't speak, just nod your head. Did anybody ever buy a rental property in their personal name to get a better interest rate than change it into an LLC later? Oink. Right? Oink. Do you realize that you just sold that property to your LLC subject to the mortgage staying in place? You did it. It happens all the time. You ever have somebody who put their house in a trust, right? But they still have a mortgage? The property went from the personal to the trust, and the mortgage stays in place. It happens all the time. It's wild, right? This has been around for a really long time. Only time that subject to selling gets sexy is when there's a big difference between the prevailing interest rate and a book of interest rates that are out there. Sounds like right now, right? There's like my niece, she's in Selden. I had like 1,000 offers on her property, but she's got a 2.75 interest rate. She's not going anywhere. She's got kids out the yahoo. They're like triple stacked in the rooms. She's not leaving that 2.75, just not, right? So, but that if you read the bylines, 2.75 mortgages are now a financial asset that people believe they should hold on to. Does that make sense why we have no flipping inventory? That's it, right? And we won't until we either create it by understanding that there's another option out there, or we wait for the interest rates to come down. That's really it. So on this one, this was an investment property. Rob found this guy. He had 2 partners on it. One partner just ditched and left the mortgage, and the other partner couldn't keep the mortgage. He's like, just couldn't make the payments. But they had 2, he was $45,000 behind, right? Actually, no, $10,000 on the first. He had a second that was $45,000. The business partner passed away. The property was going into foreclosure. It needed work It was a disaster, right? But it had, on this first was 275. It was like super cheap. So they shorted the second mortgage. They paid $5,000. Second mortgage went away. They took over the payments. They caught up. They paid all the back payments. Took over the payments on the first. Bought the deed. So the guy was either going to lose the whole house. They said, hey, if you're open to leaving the mortgage in your name, I'll give you $25,000 for the deed. You get the hell out. I'll pay the mortgage and you keep it. And the guy was like, great. He's like, that's a deal. I'm going to get something or nothing. Sold. They're making $2,500 a month in cash flow on this house. It's insane, right? From something that we thought was just gonna go back to foreclosure. Next one. This was the 3-step solution, right? So they agreed on a price, no foreclosure, no deficiency debt. They fixed their credit. All of a sudden the guy went from like a 450 FICO. 6 months later, he's at a 750, right? Great. Negotiated the second, created some equity, got the deal done, purchased the property in an LLC, and now they're going to turn this into a glamping event. It's on a giant piece of land. They're going to do glamping there, which is glamorous camping. Glamorous camping. I don't know. He's going to make a bunch of money. That's what he's going to do. Next one. Oh, okay. This is the next one, right? So, as realtors, you got to realize that your agent business, right, is the best deal pipeline for your investment business. So I literally got invited to a lunch the other day with my friends. They own a bunch of properties. Something changed in their life. And they're like, Josh, we just don't know what to do. And I was like, sell it to me. They're like, what? I go, sell me all your properties. You hold the mortgage, and I'll buy all the properties from you. And they're like, for real? I'm like, yeah, you only deal with one guy, me. I'm like, we get along, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, you like my kids, right? And I go, yeah. You know they eat every day, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, help me feed them. They're like, okay, great. Let's do it. Let's put it together, right? So if you're in front of your sellers, I want you to think, how many people, when you go up to that listing appointment, how many ways do you look at that house? You just go, what's it worth? How much percentage am I going to get? Let's get it on the market. I'm a little different. I look at it and I go, do I want to list it? Do I want to buy it? Maybe I want to just wholesale it. I don't know. I'm going to discover along the way. But I got the goods to take those people on that journey. That's a whole different piece, right? Because sometimes you may find Mrs. McGillicuddy and she's got to go into the assisted living center like today, right? And you're like, this place is a disaster, right? She's like, you ever been in a hoarder house? We all have, right? Like, oh my God, like I've drilled the deadbolt out of a door and cockroaches fell out. I mean, like that's real estate, right? That's an opportunity. I go, ooh, that smells like opportunity, right? If you go through this and you're awakened into these other segments of real estate, you can look at real estate in multiple different ways and advise those people how they go, right? And sometimes you're not the first in the door. You got the cash buyer person, and I've been there where they have the whole piece, and this is what the guy said he was going to offer me, and they were trying to get the house at like a $60,000 discount because there was no CO on the deck. He goes, you can't sell your house with no CO on the deck. I'm like, Mrs. McGillicuddy, this guy is taking you for a ride. I'm like, no, we're going to sell the shit out of this house. It's not true. Anyway, but I promise, I'm going to do another deep dive if you guys will take that journey with me, and I'm going to show you the zone system to real estate, which is zero in on your target market, own the market share of your market, nurture and grow your database, and then empower and impact your community. I have been doing this for the last like 2 years. I'm not perfectly well and not like, I'm really good at one thing, winging it. I can wing it at a really high level. It costs me my hair, but I can wing it at a high level. So I've been winging this machine, but it's starting to work and it's creating more money, so then I can start giving it away to other people and let that machine come in. When I was going through this, I was like telling myself, like clicking through it last night at 11 o'clock, like, what the hell am I gonna talk about tomorrow morning? And I'm like, I mean, I'm doing it. Like I'm doing this, it's working. I'm like, okay, great. So now I can talk to it like, hey guys, it works, right? So this is also the best deal funnel for my investment business. Maybe it's not just for me, maybe it's for Sean, maybe it's for somebody at Grid. Shoot, it could be one of our agents, anybody, right? But our goal here, and right now, Douglas Elliman is the only one who has this education. So we're taking this zone system and creating leaders. Did you ever? I'm the Roland Woods guy. If you look up my Zillow stuff, all my sold stuff, it's like a little. Any military people or hunters here? It's called your shot group, right? And you go, oh, I sighted my rifle, and all the bullet holes go into a little spot. It's called a shot group. I look when I'm recruiting an agent. We have a system. I look at their deal history over a map, and right away I go, you don't have a farm, and they go, how do you know? I go, you work on referral, or you're for sale by owner expired, right? They're like, yeah. How'd you know? I go, because your shot group is all over the place. And I go, oh man, I'm like, you want to make more money and have more freedom? Because do you drive a lot? They're like, all the time, right? We all drive a lot, right? What are you not doing when you're looking through your windshield? You do listen. I appreciate it.
I talk to you enough.
Enough, right? It's not enough. You're not making money. You're not making money, right? Anyway, so you gotta go small to go big. Go small, right? Joanne Betcher was here. She's the waterways lady. She lives in the waterways, sells more properties in the waterways. Could you imagine walking across the parking lot and selling a house? It's great. She does it all the time. I'm like, God damn it. I'm the Rolling Woods guy. I moved a mile away from Rolling Woods purposefully for economy of scale. It used to be this whole big thing when I had to open my house. My wife's like, it's a whole day thing. I go, no, we live right around, it's right around the corner. I'll be back in like 2.5 hours. She's like, that's great. I'm not looking through my windshield. Anyway, we're gonna go into zone, but I promise if you really master this, you can make Pathway to 250 super easy, okay? This is a proven concept. Rob Chavez has done it 6 times in 6 different markets with 6 teams, and each of those teams make $1 million or more. All right, so it's not a fluke, it's repeatable, it's proven. Next slide. Okay, let's go. I don't want to do any more subject 2. It's a little wild. Okay, yeah. Do a couple different ways, right? When I look at a property, I can list it. I can call Sean and go, hey man, you should buy this. I step away. I go, you should buy this, so I'm a real fiduciary. Did you know, admit it, before we became a realtor, did you know what the hell a fiduciary was? Nobody, right? People don't know. They go, oh, you're my fiduciary? They don't know what that is. But a true fiduciary is like somebody that looks out for someone else, right? And if I'm sitting in that living room with Mrs. McGillicuddy and I go, I'll buy that house, it's very tough for me to be a true fiduciary, right? Because I have a personal interest in it, right? I did it on my own house, and I tell that story. And I said, her name was Judy Johnson. I said, Judy, because I would call Sean. I'm like, Sean, you got to buy this house, and he transfer it back to me in an LLC. And he was like, just ask the lady if she'll sell you the house. I'm like, but that's weird. He goes, just hang up the phone, call the stupid lady, offer her to buy the house. So I did. Judy Johnson, will you sell me your house? She goes, for you? I was like, yeah, for my family. Like, we want to buy a house. We've been getting our butt kicked in this market. Will you sell me your house? She goes, well, what about the tenant? I said, I'll handle the tenant. I'll get the tenant out. We'll do the whole thing. I'll manage the whole thing. She goes, so I never have to come back to the house? No, you can be done today. She goes, okay, where do I sign? I go, wait, Judy. It's a crazy market. If you put the house on the market, you could sell the property for more. We just don't know. She goes, I don't care. Will you pay the list price? I go, I will. She goes, sold. Get the attorney, right? Boom. That's how we bought our house. Like, you just got to ask. It's very rare that you can be both, right? And that was what I didn't realize what I was concerned about. I was concerned about the cross between being a fiduciary or not, right? Because I'd already signed all those listing documents that says, I work for you and da-da-da-da, all that stuff. And I'm like, how I do this without being a liar? I do it without being a liar by telling her, you can sell your house for more, but she traded possible equity for convenience. Equity for convenience, that's wholesaling. People will give up equity for convenience. Anybody here, who has an adverse relationship with wholesaling? Some people don't like it. Anybody? No?
I just worry about the ethics.
Do-
I love the idea of
Yeah.
it, and I am an investor. And
Good.
I have multiple properties, but I'm always nervous about that coming back as,
Sure.
oh, she told me a low number, you know, because then they tell friends and family, and all of a sudden you're getting a call me. And it's never happened to me, but I worry that that's what might happen.
Sure, it's a good
You
point.
get a call, the family's like, you underbid it, and you stole it from my mother.
It's
That's
exactly my
fear.
concern, right? I'm like, oh my God, like she's gonna think I stole it. I'm a shark realtor and all that stuff. So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You have a car, right? silly.
I have a what?
You have a car, right?
I do.
Right? You're like, I got 3, son. I'm an investor. So, did you ever trade in your vehicle?
Sure.
Trade in a car, right? So you went to the car dealership, and whatever, Johnny Bones comes out in his plaid jacket with the gold rings, and he walks around the car, and he goes, "I'll give you X," right? You haggle a little bit, and you go, "Okay, fine," right? You wholesaled your car, and you didn't really know it. You wholesaled it to the dealership. Right? Did you ever call back like a month later and go, "You undersold me"? Like, you're on to your next thing, right? You never went back to the dealership and like, "How dare you?" And so down the street could have got a couple more. Like, you didn't do that, right?
No, but he wasn't the same man that would have been selling it for me as a private sale. That's the difference. I would be working for you as your fiduciary and or buying it from you. Same person. That's where my dilemma comes in.
So you have to either, you do one or two things, is you pitch it off. That's why I go, Sean. That's why I like having Sean. I go, Sean, like, there's an opportunity here. I'm out. Go meet with so-and-so. I don't want any part of it. You do like, I don't want to get it. I'm not going to give him a fair market value. He's going to have to do his own due diligence. That way I have a layer of separation between the two. But wholesaling and investing is not a dirty word, right?
Right.
Because what we just need to clearly define is the exchange of convenience and equity.
So instead of doing a listing appointment, if you think you're interested, I would think that I would say, what are you looking for? And then if it's a number that I think is totally doable,
Mhm.
then maybe I'd say, well, maybe you don't wanna list it. I would potentially purchase it for
Yeah.
that amount.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'd be more comfortable with that than like laying out a listing appointment.
Yeah.
And then being like, oh, I want it, and dumbing down the number.
Sure.
And obviously, you're not gonna give the height,
Well, no, and you disclose it.
negotiating against yourself at that point,
Yeah.
so.
I ask people, what's more important to you, time or money? And they
Right,
go,
and a lot of people are in a position where they can't even handle the clean out and all that seems so overwhelming.
right. They go, is it?
No, I get it,
Yeah.
I get it,
Mhm.
and I've been tempted by it, but I've had that fear.
But it's a
of
tough
crossing
one.
the line.
So my invitation is that you have that unlicensed investor partner, right? That you go, you know what? This sounds a little bit more like you might need somebody who's able to give you speed and convenience in exchange for equity.
Right.
So I'm gonna have them reach out to you with your permission, and they'll
If
continue
I
that
was gonna
conversation.
do it, I would do it on the up and up.
Yeah.
Because eventually, it's gonna come back as, I'm an owner.
Absolutely.
So I'd rather just be totally transparent.
Totally.
I
Yep.
just wondered if that, all right, that's what I've been worried about.
Yeah,
Because I am
it's
an
a
investor,
real-
But I've shied away from my
Yep.
own clients because I just never wanted to seem like I was acting as a fiduciary.
Right.
properly.
Yeah, that's what.
We've done these deals and we were never predatory. It was always the right case, helpful to that client.
Right.
And you don't need to be a predator to find those deals. Usually they need that deal.
Right.
Like, they need
And
to
they're walking
move,
up sometimes
they lost their
when
job,
when
they're behind on something,
yeah.
their house is
They're
literally a
walking away without
wreck.
foreclosure on their record.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's actually good.
Yeah.
I get it when someone's walking away with nothing, one way or the other. They're
Mhm.
either walking away with something and no foreclosure on their record, or bankruptcy on their record, because they don't have to do
Yeah.
that. That I get, but the typical just home that needs a lot of work, and I feel like, oh, I wish I kind of bought it.
Right. So
Just
you.
when I see what it ends up, you
Yeah.
know,
Okay. So you can either, yeah, you can pitch it off to your partner, or you can just say, I would like to buy your house. If you went full retail and did all the work, you'll get more money, but is convenience or money more important to you? I
Right.
just wanna figure out which
And it's a
direction we're
sure
gonna go.
thing. If you're,
Yeah.
ready to go.
Time or money.
Alright, good to know.
Just when you wrap it that way, then, and you were going to take the listing, then do you then pitch it a different way, where you're gonna save the 5 or 4 or 6% commission if you sell to me privately?
No, no. So if I'm going in and it sounds like another alternative is different, I always list it and I just keep it, I go, here's like our retail number, and these are the things that we need to do to get to that number. I sign it, and I will even say, Sean Morrison is exempt from this deal, right? So if he buys it, like, they don't pay me, right? And then I just leave. And I let him do it, because I know he's not gonna be predatory, he's gonna take it back. And so sometimes they'll call me back and go, I think we're gonna go retail, because I have all the same resources, like, it's just, do people wanna be bothered, right? So they make that decision, I go, look, you're gonna talk to Sean, you're gonna have a private conversation between you two without me there, it's a personal choice, and then let me know which way you go.
Or more specifically, if you were buying it under your name,
Do I pitch, I'm gonna save the 5%?
that they'll save it.
No, No, I don't do both really. I just did like my own house that way,
Right.
and that was kind of where I had that mindset shift where I'm like, all right, this is why I felt weird about it, because I was trying to do two things. So that's where I really split those two back and forth.
Thanks.
Make sense?
Well, let me,
Go ahead.
get into it. So I invest also, right? So most of the time you're put in a position where the house needs a lot of work, right? They wanna invest their money into that. And then you straight out saying, listen, I invest in properties too. You don't wanna go through that procedure and put money into it or have people lowball you. I'm interested in buying it, and that's what I usually do also. All right, so if it costs $100,000 to fix up and you're gonna make a profit of $50,000-$60,000, you know, we're taking a chance. We don't know how the market's gonna be
Sure.
in 3, 6 months, whatever you hold it for.
Yeah, man, right.
I just recently bought a property. It had violations all over the place. So I bought it. I said, listen, I can't, you know, someone's gotta buy it all cash, this, that, and that thing. So I wound up buying the property. I fixed all the problems. It took me six months to do everything. But we're entitled to make a profit also, right? Because we're taking the risk.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand your point, you know what I'm saying, because, you know,
No, I feel better actually.
Yeah,
I feel
good.
more empowered to do it.
Honestly,
I
I
go
appl-
back because I.
listen, I don't like when the people say, hey, let me buy your property, all right, for, let's say they're buying it for $300,000, and then they sell your contract. I was like, listen, you gotta be a little wary there, all right? You just bought it, now you're selling it for $100,000 more. That you can more in turn be, now your fiduciary responsibility, who is it too, you know what I'm saying? You just flipped the contract for $100,000. That is very shady.
That's
I stay
predatory.
away from that.
Yeah.
All right, so-
But I
So there's a way those work. If you deal with another investor, like me and you, and I need to move 6 properties because I want to buy something else, I'm gonna come to you, and I'm gonna sign a contract with you to let you sell them to 6 people. So I guarantee I can move my 1031.
Right, so that's a
I
difference.
do those deals with other investors, and that's when that's okay. And he knows, like the other person knows, I'm gonna make some money moving these properties. I'm in contract. I take all the liability, and I might have to take 2 of those on, but I've just guaranteed him that he can move his 1031 on July 1st.
You're in a different position.
I'm just saying, there's different scenarios when that is okay, and they're aware of it. Like,
Sure.
I don't hide that I am transferring a contract when I do that.
Okay, great.
But one is I just want to recognize you. You have that concern because you have innate good nature,
Thank you.
right? So if you didn't, right, you'd be like, F them, right? Right? Put that money in my pocket, right, sucker, right? So I applaud you for having that concern because you're coming from a place of contribution and caring about your customer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next slide, please. We only have like 40 more slides. Hang with me. All right. So, as you go through, like, the agent right now who has the most tools in their tool belt is gonna win. The person who can take that, solve them. We're problem solvers. That's what we are. I jokingly call myself a real estate social worker because people call me with like all their life stuff, but that's a problem. It's an emotionally masked problem that I need to unlock with one of these tools. And you will get paid by in relation to how many tools you have and how many problems you can unlock for people. Next slide. Next one. Boop. Next one. Next one. The game isn't over yet. Leadership. Over time, when you get your investments going, you can create leadership, right? When you have the income flip, right? Your agent business can be solely designed to give you more profit to buy more properties. And that's when you start investing in leadership. Let's say a team lead, right? You're a team lead or your manager. And you pour into them a few hours a day, who then in turn pours into your team for hours a day. And that's how you start to increase your leadership influence. And all of a sudden you'll see a lot of zeros start coming back. Like the numbers that these guys talk about like are gargantuan. And we have 6 teams that they're only working 10 hours a week, and they got 6 teams in 6 cities all sending in $250 a year. I'm like, that's good money, right? That is crazy good money. So that's level 5 is mastering leadership skills. And it's really hard, right? Because a lot of good agents try to be team leaders, and it takes a little something, right? Carlos has got it, and I watch a couple little things where he's pouring into them, to his agents on a personal level. He's pouring into them on an educational level. He's taking them on a journey. That takes a lot of work, right? It also takes away from his family, right? He's got a wife and a little kid, right? Taken away. That's a leader. He's like giving pieces of himself in his life to help other people's betterment. Next one. If I'm not a natural born leader, nobody is, and you won't know till you're in that spot. But leaders aren't born; they're made, right? Sergeant Major Holliday showed up at 401. He made himself into a leader, right? They're made just like anything else through hard work, training, and practice. But that's the thing. This too. Leaders are readers, right? You have to train, you have to practice, and you have to be thoroughly committed, right? What changed? The law of the lid. Anybody hear the law of the lid? Anybody know that? And that says that any organization is limited by the ability and intelligence of its leadership. Because, right, you can't get smarter than the smartest person in the company. That's why I came to Douglas Elliman, because I'm like, the top is insane. The first time I went to Summit, and we walk into that giant room, I was like, holy shit, what just happened here? I'm like, this is insane. I came from boutique real estate. It was like 6 of us in a room to this. I'm like, this is nuts. Then I go through the first award ceremony. They're talking Pinnacle, right? It's $1 million. And they're like, you get a Pinnacle, and you get a Pinnacle. I'm like, holy, the stage is filled with people. I'm like, all these people make $1 million? I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, okay, I'm pouring into this. I want to spend my time with these people. That's nuts, right? Level 5, read, oh man, it's really good. John Maxwell is a phenomenal author. Another book for you. Take a picture of it. You're welcome. Next slide. Got it. Oh, this is Rob Shevin's WISE model for management, right? He writes down standards that he expects from his team. Just throwing this out there. I don't do any of this. Throwing it out there. Write down the standards you expect. I'm the worst. He inspects those standards weekly. Ooh, right? I just started it with my Tom Ferry coach. I gave him standards, told him what I do every Thursday at 5 o'clock. He goes, well, tell me about your dials, conversations, appointments. I'm like, shoo. Whew. I even did my first quarter review. I invited all of my agents if they wanted to come. I put it up on the TV. I let my coach do my quarterly review. 2 people showed up.
It was terrifying. I wouldn't have been there, I just couldn't.
That's okay. Perfect. You have your own coach, right? But I was like, look, I'm totally transparent, right? It was terrifying. It was absolute accountability, right? But I'm like, okay, I know where I'm going, right? Supply the resources and tools you need to. The great part about Douglas Elliman, we got 1 million tools. The challenge about Douglas Elliman, we have 1 million tools. So you got to pick which tool you really want to go with, right? I use a couple, Studio Pro, Buy Side, like I use a handful over and over again. You got that. We have that. I'm sorry. Engage your people and help them grow by providing weekly feedback. Brutal. I think Chrissy Bogue is the only one. Actually, Greg. Every Wednesday I meet with Greg. Really turning his career, but I've been hammering on him like a year every week. Chrissy Bogue, I talk to her every single morning at 8:30.
And 20 other times during the day.
She sends me these long text messages. I'm like, call me, jerk. Anyway, so I know everybody has their own model for management, but if you create this, like one reason I was really struck with Rob when I met him was he gave me the 7 levels of agent wealth. He gave me a future to live into, a pathway, right? I was like, okay, if I follow him, I'll just make a lot of money. Works. Expansion. You can scale. I hear over and over again, New York, Florida, New York, Florida, New York, Florida. We have a lot of Element agents that are going deep dive into New York and expanding to Florida. We have a great footprint. You know, you can go to Colorado, you can go to Texas, LA, I mean, all that great stuff. But I'm hearing Florida, New York, Florida, New York. So you can take, promise, zone works in 6 cities, it will also work in another state. So if you want to go interstate, nail zone here, get your bell ringing every month, then recreate it down in Florida. And you can do that here. Next one is impact. Remember the deal Rob made with me? He was like, I'm going to get you out of this. I'm going to show you the pathway to make a difference for your family. But you got to share it with as many people as you possibly can. You got to promise me that. Well, that's impact. I didn't realize it, but he was programming me to give impact. So I say, I'm good with where I am. Do you ever, when I was boutique real estate in 2018, the #1 salesperson for the office, Don Bracken, he was 95. 95. I said, God damn it, Don, when are you gonna hang it up? He goes, never. He goes, as soon as I stop, I'll die. Right? And he was right. He's still kicking. He's got to be, shoot, he's almost 100 now. It's insane. Still kicking it, right? Still putting deals. That's what, I love his line. He goes, "You gonna put an offer in today, baby? I'm short time, and I don't know if I'll live through the end of the day." I love him, right? It's so good. All right, so push yourself and others around you. Surround yourself with people that are really grinding, because like complacency or proficiency or strive for excellence is infectious, right? Be very, very careful with who you surround yourself with. Next one. How do I master level 6? When your agent machine is spitting out cash, think about adding ancillary businesses like joint ventures. So we're noodling around private money lending, where we move money from people that have a lot of money to other people that need that money. And then when we move money from this person's bank account to that person's bank account, we just slice a little piece out. It's fantastic, right? And people will pay me to do that because they go, I don't want to deal with this guy, Josh. You know the questions to ask, and I know what questions this person's going to ask. They're going to go, how much money they got in, how much their credit score, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to answer all that stuff, right? I'm going to solve this problem, get both people comfortable, and I'm going to get paid good money for that. If I could show you 5 years from now, I go, hey, in 5 years you get your zone going, you get your business going, and I'm going to show you how to do ancillary business. You can make a couple phone calls and make like $5,000. Is that a conversation you'd be interested in having? Exactly, right? So you can do that really well with insurance. What is that, the white eye? Insurance, hard money, or construction, right? Construction is an ancillary business, right? We go back and forth, right? Every house I go into needs a little love, right? Also, sometimes I go across, I go, Mrs. McGillicuddy, I know you want to sell your house, what's up with that lot next door? Oh, we've had that forever. I'm like, Shazam! I'm like, would you sell that one? Because I'm going to build a house on it. I got a buddy who built a beautiful one. We can go walk through it right now, and the homeowners are there, and they love him. It's amazing. Next one. Impact, create long-term impact. Next one, please. I have to be wealthy to give back and create impact. That was my limiting belief. That's called imposter syndrome. And I was like playing this game that I had to build all this wealth first before I could talk about it. How am I going to talk about building wealth if I'm not wealthy? I'm going to talk about it because I'm going on the journey with you. I go, hey, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm learning. And if I don't know, I do know somebody who does because they are ahead of me, right? So I was robbing everybody around me of this curriculum, this education, this thought process. And the worst part is I was robbing my family of the income that people will give me to give them that education. That's selfish, right? That's really selfish. Next one. So you create impact through the entire journey. Creating impact, like, again, my little family who's gonna make $100,000, move into there, they're gonna pay me really good, and they're gonna avoid $35,000 in taxes. I could have just sold the house right away, and they wouldn't know me in a year when they get a giant tax bill and they call me up and go, Josh, WTF, why didn't you tell me that, right? I can create impact on a micro level everywhere. And then the guy next to them, they go, you know what? The guy next to us, he owns a couple of renter properties, and he said he's tired and he wants to move out of, he's gonna move out of New York. I was like, sweet, I'm gonna knock on his door, I'm not gonna rat you out. Right? You make a difference, right? If you contribute to people, if you give it away in slices, it comes back in loaves. I gave them a slice of information that's gonna save them like 40 grand. And what did they do for me? They gave me an opportunity. I already know, I can't say his name on the video. I already know the neighbor. I've been chasing that guy forever. He owns a primary and two families right where I wanna buy them, right? So I gave to them, they gave it right back to me, right? Next one. How do I master level 7? Tie your purpose to profits, right? When I text, thank you, Josh, we're in good hands. I go, this is my life's work. My whole life's goal is to help as many people buy and sell real estate before I die. If you get an email from me from my phone, my tagline is delivering joy and wealth through real estate. It just so happens that it's my initials, JW, but I'll tell the story. I was sitting on my front porch after we bought our house in the middle of it was the first spring, and my two little kids were playing. My son was teaching my daughter how to fall on the butt, right, in the front lawn. And in that moment, right, joy is just an intense connection to the moment that you're in. That's pure joy. And in that moment, I said, wow, I watched my kids interacting on my lawn, teaching each other to fall, and I had a joyous moment. I said, that only comes through real estate. I was like, that's it. That's my life's purpose right there, is to deliver joy and wealth through real estate. And guess what the best part is? People will pay me to do it. Next slide. So no matter where you are in your path, remember, you're moving from an accidental entrepreneur, business that falls in your lap because people call you, going through your, managing your mindset, building your machine, going through your zone, all the way up through a master wealth builder. That's the pathway to mastery. Next slide. So don't wait to get started. So if you're interested in this curriculum, next slide. There is the next agent investor certification course is May 1st through June 26th. GridAIcertification.com. It does cost money. I'm not gonna blow smoke. It is not cheap. All right, it was not cheap. Next slide. This is what you're gonna learn. It's gonna take you through 7 weeks of courses. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. That's a good looking guy. All right, that's me right there. So, agent investor certification, next one. You can buy this coursework if you wish to go through it. You certainly can. I teach it on a direct level for free over time. I would invite you to go through. There's going to be people all over the country that are taking this coursework at the same time. There's an agent investor network. We refer business back and forth, just like Tom Ferry does, right? Tom Ferry Referral Partners. There's your agent investor referral network. So if you wanted to go through it, it is $9.97, or they actually just started this one. I guess you pay a little bit more. The math doesn't add up. But if you want to do 3 payments, you pay a little bit. If you wanted to, or you can come the first Tuesday of every month to Hotel Indigo in Riverhead, and we're going to teach a lot of these topics, and then we're going to network afterwards. Next slide. Remember, every single real estate agent, this is what we're building. We're building a rocket ship that will create wealth and financial freedom for you, for your family, for your friends, and for your clients, if you allow it. Next one. That's it. Just go take massive action. Take what you learn, go take massive action. I know you heard enough from me, and I'm going to shut up, but any questions from the group? I just want to make sure I answer anything about what we talked about. No? Awesome.
Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
Before you go, yes, all right. So Kate, before you go, get the information for 5 people that you don't know.
Okay, go.
Exchange your card with 5 people.
Don't get up yet,
Go ahead.
because I wanna create some content so that I can have some conversations.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So-
pictures, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pictures,
Okay,
but-
great.
This is for, so I need more applause for a minute.
Oh,
I wanna get
okay.
us in the middle of the applause.